You see them online, real estate entrepreneurs. But how are they doing it? And what are they doing different? We've got the answers. This is the Real Estate Block. Interviewing real estate entrepreneurs doing consistent real estate deals. If you want to be a real estate entrepreneur or you're already in the business, we've got on the pros that give the secrets and strategies to make it happen. This is the Real Estate Block, and this is your host, Aaron Gaunt.
All right. Welcome to the Real Estate Block podcast, where we ask our guests the hard question by taking a deep dive into how they built their teams, what they're doing in their marketing strategies, the systems and processes on how they built a machine that spits out consistent deal flow month after month, where the value given during this show will help you find and create consistent real estate deals. Today, I have my good buddy Gabriel on the show. What's up, my man?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Dude, Gabriel, tell us a little about yourself, what you were doing before real estate, and why the heck were you crazy enough to get into real estate?
So name's Gabriel Carrera. Before real estate, I thought I was going to be, go the traditional path. I went to college for biomedical engineering, got a scholarship for that, but dropped out after a year and a half. I realized I cannot be living in living in an office spot or like doing all this research. Like I'd just be sitting down, working on a project for long, especially when I didn't see too much improvements, and I already had, passions for entrepreneurship. So pretty much I worked with a couple of tech startups that was doing like competitors like Uber Eats for some time. And I had my own marketing agency where I worked with a bunch of clients. So we did like tourism clients. We worked with restaurants, helping them grow, which was huge. And then once we landed our first real estate client, that was huge too, because on the first meeting, I was with one of my partner at the time, and we sat down with the client. We took just a notepad, and by the end of the meeting, with him, he had like a $2,000 check, and I was like, okay, real estate, I got to get into it somehow.
No, that's awesome, man. So you already kind of knew a little bit about marketing, and but okay. So when you say, so what was that first deal? What was that first $2,000 that you received? What kind of deal was that?
Yeah, so that deal was just a marketing campaign, right? So we were just doing marketing campaigns at the time. I think we were doing some sort of lead generation campaigns on Facebook we were running, as well as some content marketing. So nothing related to like getting deals or anything of that sort. But, this was back like 4 years ago or so. So like 3-4 years ago now. These agents were like thinking, okay, well, we got to get on social media somehow. And mostly they were kind of looking at the content marketing as like a pretty good avenue source so that we can let people know, they can let people know what they're doing and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And when you say marketing deal, so you're talking about, was this like a on the MLS deal?
No. So I wasn't even doing real estate, right? So this was just marketing, doing social media marketing, right? So,
okay.
So I reached out to a couple of clients. I was like, hey, I'll help you guys blow your social media. And that's how I got into real estate, because I met this agent, and it was like the quickest check we ever got for marketing services. And I was like, yo, I think that was too easy for that agent. That means they're making a lot of money. I got to get into real estate somehow,
Okay. So what was your next step after getting that deal?
Yeah. So after getting that deal where we were doing some client services for them, like we were doing, services for her, just for content wise. After a period of time, I was still trying to get into like the marketing game. So I was working a few dealerships after that, helping them get some sales with social media ads and stuff of that sort. And then afterwards, I went to go work with my first real estate investment company, and we were kind of door knocking, reverse mortgage foreclosures in South Central LA. So that was like the first company that I worked with.
What was that company?
That company's not around anymore.
Why aren't they around?
Pretty much the founder was talking about, all these investments that he was doing, but it seemed like, I don't know, I think that it wasn't in the right headspace at the time. So he wasn't the right, it's the person you can grow with, I guess you can say.
How big would you say that company was?
It was not that big. So he grew it really fast. He posted on social media, and then within a matter of like a week, I was one of like 5 people who got hired within a week. And then it was just kind of like a whole group of people who were there like to learn, excited and everything. But we never got any like traction with that. I did get them a signed contract within a week on a reverse mortgage.
Oh, there you go.
Which obviously excited me from a door knock, right? But I never got paid throughout the deal and stuff like that. But
really?
Experience. Yeah.
Was that company, were they flippers? I mean, what were they?
So they were talking about flipping the deals that they were getting. But they also said that they would like consider wholesaling some deals, but I think they were looking to flip the deal that they were getting. And we were looking at like short sales, reverse mortgages. So they'll go in, get a contractor's bid for a certain amount and then deal with the bank. And that short sale process takes a while and stuff. But yeah, they were looking at flipping or like, I think they were looking also maybe wholesaling, but more like their main focus was flipping. That's what they were trying to do at the time.
Okay, so you're sitting here. So you join this company. They hire 5 people. They hire you.
Yeah.
They say go in the ghetto and start door knocking these doors.
Pretty much.
What did that look like? How many doors were you probably knocking a day? Did you have any incidences that was possibly dangerous? And did you just create the leads? Did you have the appointments on the side? I mean, what did that look like?
You know what, Aaron? That's a good question because a lot of people who get into this business, when I tell them, well, I went door knocking, they start thinking to themselves, oh, well, I'm going to go down my street, go hit up all these 4 or 5 houses down the street from me, and hopefully one of these deals is going to happen, right? But the reality of the situation is the best leads to be door knocking are those that are in foreclosure, those that are in reverse mortgages, those that are, already dealing with some sort of situation. So we pretty much made a list in those areas of certain, reverse mortgage lenders that we knew that were like financing some of these, and then the ones that were in foreclosure. So I think we organized all that data through Property Radar at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Property Radar is a great tool for that, by the way. So we were able to, find that list, and then we would go door knock. So I think I worked for that company for about like 3 weeks or a month or so, which was, a great experience. I was going out there door knocking and learning and stuff like that. But pretty much they were like, okay, now go hit up those houses. And, like you said, man, it was pretty sketchy being out there in South Central LA, door knocking, how to be like, I was looking all fly. I had a nice, tie and everything, and being friendly with everybody. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? But man, you do see some crazy stuff while door knocking. One thing that was surprising though was, I started out there in Watts, South Central LA, where I started door knocking, but then we had a couple of reverse mortgages that were like in higher end areas, I think like in Irvine or something. And I was like, what the hell is going on over here? So we went out to Irvine, to check out one particular house that was like a hot lead. I think we had spoke to him over the phone. We were like, okay, let's see if we can make something happen. And that's the one time I got a gun pulled out on me. So that was my last time door knocking in LA.
So that you were just like, I am done door knocking. Was it like just in LA, or was it done?
Well, yeah, I was done door knocking from there on pretty much. But I thought it was pretty funny because in South Central LA, I felt more safe than I did in this high end neighborhood of like $1 million homes and stuff where I got my gun pulled out. That was insane. Yeah.
So to back it up a little bit, you said you got a deal for this company, Coast to Coast, and you said you didn't get paid on it. I mean, what happened?
Yeah. At the time, the founder, he was saying, so, this is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard, but I'm just going to be honest, because I want people to learn and I don't want people to be in the same situation. But I go get that contract signed, and I hopped on a FaceTime with the founder of the company, the company leader at the time. And I didn't know anything what I was signing because it was all like, his paperwork for the short.
Oh, so he had like no training, huh?
So he gave me no training, nothing. So he just gave me the paperwork. He's like, yo, just get it signed. So I was like FaceTiming him, hey, where do I sign? Where does he sign? So he's like, oh, sign there. So we got everything signed. I bring it back to the office, and he was like, okay, yeah, cool. Give me a copy. He's like, yeah, we're going to run it over with the team and talk about it a little bit later. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I just kind of took it as a, we'll talk about it in a bit later. Like an hour later, he comes like, hey, so Gabriel, situation is, somebody here in the office already got that contract signed. So there's nothing we can do. It never showed me the contract signed, never showed me anything. And he just claimed that his buddy had already gotten it signed earlier that day, and that was it. So that was one of the reasons why I left that company pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would too. It doesn't seem like the culture was that fair there, huh?
No. But like I said, I look at everything as a learning opportunity, right? So I learned a lot about reverse mortgages. I learned a lot about short sales.
Right, gotcha.
I learned a lot about how they're like looking at these lenders. I learned a lot about like how they were like starting to analyze deals. But yeah, that was one of the first real estate companies that I worked at, and then I worked at a few more afterwards.
Okay, so you leave that company. You say you just worked. I mean, how long did it take for you to kind of open up your own company?
It's a good question. So after that, I have I'm a pretty big family. So I had one of my cousins from Texas that I had never interacted with and stuff.
Really?
They came down for a family party. I think it was like a 15, a quinceañera. And he came down, and they were actually had just started opening a flipping business, and they were flipping out there in West Texas, right? So
Okay.
they were Odessa, Midland area. That's where their whole main operation was at the time. So they were living in San Antonio. So I want to go work with them for about, I think it was about a month and a half, and that's where I learned how to cold call. That's where I learned how to negotiate with people, building rapport. Because I wasn't really cold calling, with the first company, it was more door knocking, and that was kind of it. But here was what I was on the mojo all day long, mirroring and matching people, especially out in West Texas, man. I mean, they've got an accent, right? So I would go in there and be like, "Hey, howdy, Aaron, how's it going?" And see how much of a powerful connection I would feel with rapport wise with these sellers when they hear someone that sounds like them, right? So that's where I learned that. And that was a great experience working with my cousins, and they've grown their operation really big since. So that was huge eye-opening experience. And then afterwards, I worked in Vegas for some time. I was working with some guy named Tyson De La Cruz, an investor out there, learned a lot as well there. And then after that, I came back to LA and I worked with Yoni Reels, who I learned a lot working with. And that's where I really started getting my traction going, when I worked with Yoni here. And, within the first month of working with Yoni, that's when I locked up a deal in Watts that we wholesaled for a $45,000 fee. 2 weeks later, I was super excited. And that's when the momentum really started.
Nice. Okay. So you're a salesperson. So did you live in Texas?
Yeah, I lived there for a month and a half when I was with them. Yeah.
Okay, so you're there for a month and a half doing cold call, learning sales, and one thing you could already tell that you were able to learn. This is something I always say is that you gotta be the person already to be a salesman, and then you could learn the tips and tricks, right? The mirror matching, building rapport, and all that stuff. Yeah, you can learn that on top. But you got to already have this kind of emotional intelligence and grit and hustle to be a salesman, and that's definitely you already. I mean, if you're over there starting and not knowing anything, already door knocking, crushing it. Okay, so you see, then you come back to LA and you start, you're crushing it with this guy here. Why did you leave that company?
It's a good question. So, we got a lot of deals done. Yoni is a really good friend of mine still. So we bounced a lot of deals around. We still run numbers with each other, but I was doing a couple of deals with him. And at the time I wanted to kind of just explode and hey, let's get a bunch of VAs in Mexico and let's just, go crazy. And he was more of hey, let's build this out slowly. So I was a little bit more of yo, let's just put the pedal to the metal. We've already got some traction right now. We can get a whole squad in Mexico right now. I'll teach him what I know. We get 5 of me, and then we'll just kind of grow this up pretty fast. And he was more of hey, let's take some time. Let's take it step by step, which I understand now because right when I stopped working with him, I went on my own. I hired a bunch of VAs, and then you fire, rehire, and you find out it's not that easy, right? So that was the reason we kind of separated. It was because I was trying to go a million miles an hour, and I was okay, let's scale this team, let's get this going fast, and but that was after we did a good amount of deals together, and like I said, we're still really good friends, and we still talk about business all the time. I send him my deals and stuff,
So I know you do a lot in Joshua Tree. So you go. So you go on your own. You hire these VAs. You fire the VAs, and then you're building the team. You're figuring this out now. How did you get past the struggle from doing a deal here and there to kind of that consistent deal flow? Now, obviously, there's always going to be struggles, and we're going to talk about that later here. But where do you think it clicked to get that every month deal?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me personally, it was finding my niche. So I found out that land I was really good at. I had connected with a lot of developers. I saw a lot of developments going on in the desert out there. I'm talking with sellers, they're way less emotionally attached to these pieces of land. They are a house, where they have all these memories and stuff, and the land, they just have dreams of building something, which they never really did. Right. So, I found my niche in land. And the way I found my niche in land was kind of a funny story, but I bought a cabin with Yoni out there in Lancaster just because we were doing wholesaling out in Georgia and here in LA, and we had a seller in Georgia that was hey, I don't want to sell this house, but I have a cabin in Lancaster if you guys want it. We saw it and we're
oh, nice.
Might as well just buy it, right? We bought it for $12,500 or something. 5
really?
acres. Yeah, it was a really good deal. So we're okay, it's great. Put it on Facebook Marketplace to rent. Just see if anybody's willing to pay $500 or $800 a month, for this property. And then we get some interest from some people. And one of these guys was a weed grower. And he was like, hey, I have a lot in Landers. I don't know if you want to go check it out, but they're not letting me grow. I don't know if you want to like take it. And I go and I'm like, where the hell is Landers, right? So I go and I was like,
nowhere.
Dad, let's go check it out. We go check it out. And, middle of nowhere, all this vacant land everywhere. But then it's weird because we see like 2 new homes being built, very custom homes. And we're like, what's going on here? So we kind of found there was like something going on in that area, right? And then while we were there, the property, he ended up, when we ran the numbers, he was asking for a little bit too much for his lot. But there was a sign that said for sale by owner. And they had a phone number. And I called the guy up and turns out right when I give him a call, I'm like, yo, I want to find out more about what other properties do you have? What properties do you have? Turns out this guy owned like 50 lots in the desert. So out of those 50, I think I ended up wholesaling like 4 under contract right away. I got 4 under contract and I ended up wholesaling to a developer. And I started learning about like, the land game for developers out there. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I guess that would be my next question. I mean, what advice would you give to somebody to do a consistent deal flow? And I guess that goes along with your niche. Are you just doing land deals now?
No, so I'm actually also doing homes and mobile homes, but land has been my like bread and butter. Most of the deals that I have done have been land deals.
Nice.
Yes, that's been the majority, but I've done substantial. I have a house under contract and a mobile home under contract right now that I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna offload and stuff like that, especially how the market's changing now. Side note, I did see a couple of your novations out there on the market, and I was like, man, I gotta start doing more of those. So that's something that I'm exploring. But yeah, I'm getting more into like home, especially now in this market because when this whole recession started coming down, interest rates started rising, buyer demand started decreasing really fast out there in the desert. So we're noticing that land buyers are not as motivated as they were before, and people are more interested in buying like an investment as a house just to rent out long term instead of an actual whole development that can take a long time.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and I would. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to last. Hopefully, it's no less than a year. But yeah, I would say land has been my kryptonite, and not knowing like where to get it and where to buy it at the right price. And it seems like you kind of crushed it and found it in that niche. And mobile homes too. Mobile homes. Every time I hear a seller that says that they have a mobile home, and obviously you go down to your list, right? Do you own the land? What year was it built? Right. But man, I know you got to get it like super low. So it sounds like you've been really, really good at that.
Yeah. I mean, actually the deal we're looking at right now, I think, obviously you can't base it off Redfin's value, but Redfin's estimates like at 360, seller saying she's willing to sell for me for 90,000. Nice. Actually got off the phone with her like earlier today with my boys and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you get the right price. Same thing for land, right? So like for example, one of the lots that I bought recently, because I do own like 9 pieces of land in the desert and a house that we're doing right now.
Oh wow.
But one of those lots we bought for 20K and the seller bought for 60K back in 2007 or so, right? So a lot of times it's like the motivation, right? What's the motivation? Yeah, you bought for that price, but are you tired of paying those taxes every year, property tax? You're not going to do anything with the property. It's going to be sitting there. You don't want to put it on the market and wait for all those offers. Like, I'll just give you a solid offer. And yeah, you can put it on the market and, wait for the right buyer to come into play. But, if you take my 20K today, like that's much I'm going to give you. And that's pretty much the way I negotiate with them. Like, hey, you can wait on the market, sit there for a little while, or you can take my cash today. And like a lot of, that's how I've been able to focus on the land, especially being able to value it and know what it's worth, right? With utilities and all that stuff. After doing
let's stop there. What do I need when I'm looking at a land deal? Yeah. What do I need to look at to let me know it's a deal, right? I know you, and I know some great guys who are just crushing it in land. So, but because I have you here right now, I want to pick your brain a little bit. Yeah. With the land, and I had a sellers, when they ask, you could do all these things with it, blah blah blah, right? But when how do I know it's a deal? I mean, what questions should I ask the owner beforehand to make sure I know I have a deal in my hand?
Good question. So, man, I've been doing land for a while, but even then, like there's still things that I learned to this day, recently, and you think you know it all, but then there's like all these other things, and you're like, holy smokes, man, land, so much to it, right? But one of the most important things you look at is one thing would be road access, right? So if it has road access, that's important, especially in the desert. I have one property that's landlocked that doesn't have road access, but every other property has road access, which is great, right? Another thing that you look at is utilities. Is there water? Is there power on the property? And if there is it just on the street or is it hooked up to the property, right? So typically like being hooked up to the property would be a water meter already existing on the property instead of having to hook up a meter, which can cost anywhere from $15,000 to $40,000 more. It depends on what water district, what area you're in the desert. So that has a huge effect on the value of the water meter. And then the views, what views are around there, like, you know, people like them seeing the mountains close by. People like to see Joshua trees on their lot, right? So that's another thing that's really important. Another thing that's really important is comps, right? What are comps selling for? What's a comp selling for a remodeled house? What's a comp selling for a new construction house, right? Like
when you say comp, sorry to cut you off there. When you say comps, are you comping it to other pieces of land? Are you comping it to buildings that are already there? And then what percentage do you need to get that piece of land at?
Good question. Good question. So I usually comp with both. So I see, hey, how much is land trading for right now on the market? How much has it been selling for, you know, for these retail buyers that are developing? And how much is a home worth once you build on it, right? So
gotcha.
the way I look at it is like, okay, what's the development value? Because every piece of land, I mean, you could build a 500, let's say for example, a 391 square foot home on the lot that you can sell for, let's say, $275,000, right? Or you could build a 2,100 square foot home that a bank will be willing to appraise for $900,000 on the same piece of land, right? So it's just insane how you see those value differences in terms of like square footage and size. So what I like to do when I look at a deal is see, okay, how am I able to get the land cheap enough where I'm getting it typically like under 50% of like, you know, these higher comps for just land, right? So typically if I see a land comp, like for example, that comp that I bought for 20,000, I saw some comps going for like 60,000 that had sold on the market to other investors. So at 20,000, I knew it was a pretty good deal. And what's really good about that one too is that right next door they're actually building a house and 2,100 square feet. They got it appraised for $900,000, right?
Wow.
So yeah, so it's like really close by. So that, you know, me kind of being in the real estate investment game, I try to run my numbers in terms of like how much would it cost, you know, per square foot to be able to develop something of this nature. And you know, if you're going to be able to sub everything out, you're going to get stuff way cheaper than you would using a GC, especially out here for new construction, because GCs are like flooded with projects right now. So they're willing to charge whatever they can. I mean, they're charging however much somebody's willing to pay, right? So up to like $500 a square foot, when in reality, you could probably be able to get it down to like $220 a square foot, right? So huge difference in terms of like, you know, you get the right team on board.
What does your team look like and consist of?
So right now,
get these amazing land deals.
Yeah, man, I've hired and fired so many people, man. Yeah, I've hired and fired like all these VAs. I've had people in different countries. But you know, right when the whole market started slowing down, for me, it was around, you know, June, July-ish of this year. Started noticing a huge turnaround. So you know, just to talk about, you know, how the market kind of did impact me and, you know, my business, my employees and stuff like that. You know, when the market shifted, I had 3 deals in escrow and I had one lender that I connected them with. So this is what sucks about the desert. There's not that many lenders, hardly lenders that are willing to work with, you know, these types of properties because they're considered rural properties.
Right.
So I had one lender, hard money lender, that was going to fund 3 deals for 3 different investors. And the hard money lender's terms were originally 10% down of purchase, and they fund 100% of the rehab. So my buyers were like happy with that, right? They were excited. They're like, okay, I'm going to come 10% down. They like the numbers. And I had those in escrow. And right when we're in escrow on like all 3, because I got them all 3 in the same week, because I saw the market. I'm like, okay, I could lock these deals up. And these were on market deals as well. So I saw them on the market, negotiated them down. And then last minute, that lender tells all my buyers like, hey guys, so the market is changing so fast on us that we're going to require 20% down and 6 months of reserves up front. And we're only financing 80% of the rehab. So huge shift. So like my buyers, like we're all like, okay, man, we're going to back off of the desert. A lot of them lost their deposits and stuff, but you know, it is what it is. And, you know, I obviously lost my assignments because I would have had them closing the deal as well.
Yep.
So once I noticed that, I started noticing, okay, there's a huge market shift coming with lenders changing their rates, their terms, their financing. And at that time, I had 2 employees in Mexico that were working full time doing lead management. So they're following up with old leads on the Podio, seeing who's interested, and that's the way we were reviving them. But then from there on out, I just decided, hey, I'm just going to have my guys be commission based only right now and just pretty much do multiple versions of me right now. Like, hey, we're just going to keep our overhead low. We're just going to get on the calls and, work out a commission structure with my guys. So that's why I have 2 employees right now. So I have, my guy Leo and Manny, and pretty much all day. Leo's more focused on the off market stuff where, we're looking at those novation types of deals, and some on market. Manny's only focused on market deals, just because, we love them both.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you're focused on market too. That's something that we didn't focus on much before the market correction. Once we saw the market correction, we really started focusing on market, because this is definitely the season to go after those, because agents are struggling. We see the market going down, properties are staying longer on the market, and we're like, well, let's jump on this as fast as possible. So, I mean, we're locking a bunch of properties on market right now.
Exactly. Low overhead, low marketing costs, if anything, and like, I love on market deals, man. So much easier. They're dealing with the seller. I'm having a couple tough conversations with the agent. They're helping me, get my goals through and stuff. So yeah, on market deals have been my favorite by far this year, for sure.
Now, those 2 individuals that are on your team, are they in-house, or they're the ones in Mexico?
No, so right now, one of them actually lives in Idaho, and the other one lives here in Huntington Park. So he works out of his home. We usually have a morning call around 10 in the morning, and we go over the leads that we have to follow up with, and follow-ups that we have going on of that sort, and then just kind of like,
How are you keeping the culture alive right now? That's going to be, because I've said this in past shows, that's something we're really going to be focusing on here the next year, is culture. By keeping guys virtual, I mean, how has that been working out? And it sounds like it's been going really well.
Yeah. So, it's working out. Culture is something definitely that I need to work on. For me, I'm more of like, hey, like, I like to push people, like, hey, we got to push each other, like, be able to achieve different stuff. So for example, my guy Leo, since he lives closer, he comes here to my place sometimes here in Studio City. And he just sees me work, and then he sees my calls with like my other buddies or other investors that I know. And then he starts getting ideas in his head of like, oh, this is, the way Gabriel's managing these conversations with these agents and stuff of that nature. And, obviously, like, whenever I can, like, I come over here, like, supporting him, helping him, hearing his calls, helping him like level up to the next level. But really, our culture is just about self-growth and just pushing each other grow. But I definitely need to work on, like, setting that right culture. Because I mean, for now, obviously we're good friends and, we've done these deals, but I want to build the right company culture where he feels, more, I don't know, just so the team could be a little bit more closer together, especially during this time. I know a lot of people who are, pretty much their operations are not working anywhere close to what they were before, right? And they have people going different companies. But the way I like to see it is, if I'm able to provide value to my guys and help them, teach them stuff that can help them grow, like, as long as I'm always helping them grow, I think they'll always like be there to, like, there's no reason to really leave if you're like always growing, right? So 100%. That's the way I like to see it. Like, if there's ways I could push them to help them grow, teach them. Like, I just taught my one of my guys, Leo. I actually spoke to him last week, and I was just teaching him about novations, and huge eye opener for him, especially since he was sending me some properties, and one of them was yours that you posted on the market. And I was like, yo, so that's Aaron, Backdraft Home Solution, like, that's my guy. And, I was looking at the MLS notes. I'm like, that's what we're going to start doing, a little more innovation. So just teaching them stuff, I think, is huge, just so that they always feel like they're getting something out of value and not just like being a robot,
Right. Yeah. And if you have any questions on novations, if you get a little deeper into it, don't be hesitant to call and ask for some stuff.
Thanks, bro.
So it's funny, I love it. That is one of our core values too, is continual growth. One thing we just recently did to start off the year was a small vision board with a small description. And so we actually have all their vision boards on their desk, and I'm going to be going over their vision boards on all their probably weekly meetings and my one-on-ones with them. And we went over it right before Christmas holiday on what they put on their vision board. And there were so many tasks on there that I was like, I'm just taking mental notes. Oh, we could hit that. We could help them hit that. We could help them hit that. So while they're with us, I want to make sure that they accomplish their vision and those things on their vision board. And so one thing that comes to my mind that I really like is, so one thing we do is everybody in our company right now is a real estate agent except one individual. And on her vision board, she said, because we hang up our licenses on our wall.
Okay.
And she says, I want to put a license on there. Like, she doesn't even like need it. Like but it's just a goal. Like, hey, I want to be a part of the group. I want to be a part of and have my real estate license on there.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty cool. And that's what we're really gonna be trying to do is create that culture because of this market correction, because we don't know where the end is, or when we see that fire back up. And this is the time to strike. And this is wartime. And I want our team to focus like this is wartime, right?
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome, man. Let me ask you this, Gabriel. What kind of marketing are you doing right now to feed your team?
So right now, most of what we're doing is on market. So what we're looking at is new listings, price drops, properties that we see need some work and are sitting on the market for a while. We're doing a lot, like I'd say pretty much 80% of our marketing right now is on market. The other 20% right now is just through text blast. So through text blast, we're blasting out, every single day we're blasting out a few hundred text messages. And just following up with those people, seeing, but right now we're seeing a huge opportunity just on the market, man. The market, I think people are sleeping on this opportunity on the market. Buyer confidence is like at an all-time low based on what I've seen, so I think it's a huge, if you're able to get the money right, get the right buyers in place, like it's a huge opportunity where, I had a deal in Burbank that I locked up. I wasn't able to sell it, but I picked it up for $780 and a cookie cutter property. This was back in like October. In October, I locked this property up, and I couldn't find a buyer, but it was it was a fixer. There was a cookie cutter property like 3 houses away that sold for 1.1 in June, right? So investors were scared to pay like $800,000 for this same home that they were bought for 1.1 as a fixer in June. So it just kind of shows like the market is changing with the buyers, but yeah, I kind of find a way to get creative. But yeah, like I love the on-market deal just because, as long as you have the right buyers and the right money, which is what I'm working on right now, honestly, then, I'm just trying to get more offers accepted just because I know agents are willing to accept lower offers in this market, and sellers are too.
How are you maneuvering around the MLS? Are you guys just putting in like keywords and finding properties? I mean, what are you guys doing to find those fixer-upper properties?
Good question. So every day, my morning routine is waking up, going on Redfin on my iPad actually, and looking for new listings everywhere in SoCal. And I just look at every single listing that hits the market every day in the morning, and I usually check it out at night as well. So that's one thing. There's obviously like alerts as well. Alerts are huge, right? So you put a box of like square footage that you're looking for, or specific types of properties, or a specific keyword, right? Diamond in the rough is a good keyword. Fixer is a good keyword. Need some love or TLC. What's another one there's another one that they say that's like, it's like a light fixer. What do they say? Slap some paint on it or something.
Yeah.
Like I have a couple of those keywords that I use to find these deals. But yeah, those keywords are huge as well for sure.
So do you guys call them right away as soon as it hits the market? Are you waiting for it to stay on the market for a couple days, couple weeks? And is your guys like constantly bugging the agents? Do you guys send out professional offers? I mean, what are you guys doing?
Good question. So what we're doing is we're calling the agent right away. So when we see that listing on the market, we're calling the agent. We're building a rapport with them. We're telling them how other properties that we've bought in the area. We're letting them know who we are, so that they know, okay, this is the legit buying company. And then we usually kind of tell them, hey, like we have to be around this range, which is typically way lower than like asking and stuff like that. So they know our number. So if the seller's motivated enough, they'll come down to that number. If not, then sometimes we wait like a week or a few days until sometimes like they're willing to come down to like the numbers that we're looking for. But pretty much we're on them like every day. So we're just calling up, hey, what's the status on this property? What did the agent say about, our verbal offer? But we're getting the listing agents to write the offers for us.
Nice.
Just to like help get the deal done in an easier, smoother.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just so to not have, hey, this agent said this and this agent's client said that. It's like, I don't like to deal with too much of that. So if the same listing agent helps me work throughout the whole deal and they help me choose my escrow company and my title company, so I can like wholesale it if I would like to, that's how we're submitting offers with the listing agents.
That's awesome, man. Are you still going after land deals?
You know what? That's slowed down a lot for sure. So I'm not looking at land deals as much as before, just because, you know, I have a couple of land deals that I haven't been able to sell, you know, so I have, you know, some lots that I just haven't been able to sell. So I am seeing a little bit of an impact on the market on that way. So I'm looking a little bit more for homes or mobile homes, but I can help anybody like analyze land deals if anybody has any questions or anything of that sort, you know?
Absolutely. I'll probably have to. We'll pick your brain when we get a couple of those along our way. Let me
Yeah.
ask you. Let me ask you this, Gabriel. What would you say that your number one struggle right now is?
Good question. Good question. Man, finding wholesale buyers that are willing to like hold on to properties long term. I think that's one of my biggest struggles, finding buyers that are willing to like hold on to properties and let them cash flow and stuff like that. Because every buyer that I've been selling to in the past are like a lot of flippers, and flippers right now, they know they can come in way lower than they were coming in, you know, 4 or 5 months ago. So now I'm looking for those long-term buyers, and that's why, you know, I am looking to explore into that novation scene. Actually, one of my buddies come over earlier today. We were like working on the whole novation thing, just to be able to put the deals that we find, you know, into eyes of more buyers that are, you know, more willing to hold on to them long term and be more creative with their strategies.
100%. Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing, right? Is really dispoing the properties, buying them right.
Yeah.
Do you guys use Investor Lift?
No. We have JV with a couple people on Investor Lift that they've blasted our deals, but you know, nothing has really came about Investor Lift. I don't know why. It's weird. It's weird, but at the same time, it's probably because of the desert, it being so rural and people not being as interested as that.
Right.
But we have blasted it with other people, but not much success there.
Well, that's just a plug. If anybody needs a deal blasted, we have Cartel Investor Lift. We got plenty. We have millions of buyers.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to dispo our next deal with you, Aaron.
There it is. Yeah, we do a pretty fair. I think, and it's just not between us or anything, but it's just a side thing. Is when we blast someone else's deal, and this is how we usually structure it. So when we do JV, because we really want to focus on JV deals next year. I was looking at KPIs literally this morning, and saw that we made a pretty good income from JVs.
Yeah,
and I think even more than cold calling and all that stuff, right?
Wow.
And yeah, so I felt like we didn't even do that many JVs. Oh, you know what it was? I think it's because we did like one big deal, and it was
with John Metz.
Yeah, dude, did you hear about that one?
John's a cool guy, man. He told me about that. He told me all about it. Yeah,
that was a good deal. That was a good deal.
He was really excited about that one.
No, yeah, it was. Yeah, we can talk about that one.
John,
let me ask you this, Gabriel. What are us talking about here the market correction here that we're dealing with, and we're probably going into 2023. What's your strategy to go through this recession and then coming out the other side even stronger?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, you know, seeing you know, numbers decline, I feel like there's a huge discrepancy right now with, you know, Airbnb numbers that you could be getting, and that some of my friends are actively getting out there in those areas like Landers, Joshua. That's why it's so popular, right? Because people are Airbnb-ing these homes out, the nice jacuzzi. People are paying 150, 250, 300 bucks a night, you know, to stay in these Airbnbs. So I'm seeing a huge difference from the number that you could be generating off Airbnb revenue and the values, right? So the values have decreased substantially. So, you know, I'm seeing this as a huge opportunity to be able to buy deals at a discounted price, refinance them with comps for maybe 2-3 months ago, which some of them are still selling at higher values, and managing them as Airbnbs, and doing the full BRRRR model. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now as a huge opportunity, is doing a full BRRRR model where I could acquire 1, 2, 3, 4 properties as STRs and, you know, refinance, get all the money out, and still be able to generate, you know, good income. Like one of my buddies has a house in Lander that's 800 square feet on 5 acres, and he grossed 82,000, netted 55,000 on his Airbnb. So obviously he's managing his Airbnb like, you know, like a hawk, right? So he's over here dropping the prices when, you know, or dropping the amount of limited, like the amount of days that to be able to be there, the minimum stay nights and stuff. But yeah, that's the way, that's what I'm seeing right now. There's a huge opportunity in like Airbnb still. So I want to be able to find some of these properties and BRRRR them out, get all my money out and just acquire a couple more properties right now. So Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Have you done any of that? And because I know you're, as we look at you on social media, you're big in Joshua Tree. Do you own a couple properties in Joshua Tree, and are you doing Airbnbs with them?
Yeah, so I have 9 lots right now in Joshua Tree, Landers,
Right.
Valley area, and I have one house right now that I am remodeling, my first flip by myself.
Okay.
Everything else
Gotcha.
I've wholesaled, to other investors out there, but I just I picked it up for 151, but when I picked it up, there was comps going for around 630. Right now, I'd say comps have came down probably closer to like 440, 450.
Okay.
But I picked it up at 151. Going to need
Yeah.
about $125,000 worth of work. So I mean, that's one of the properties that we have going on, and that one I'm still 50-50. It might throw on the market. Might just I think I'm gonna Airbnb at first, and then throw on the market. If somebody bites, great. If not, then at least be able to have all my money out of the deal and hold on to it as Airbnb. So
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Gabriel. What have you listened to or read that's just inspired you that you would want to give to somebody else?
one book that I always recommend to everybody, man. This book changed my life. I'm sure you've read it, Aaron. Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss.
Yep.
Man, that book taught me how to negotiate better. It was a huge eye opener, and just hearing the fact that he was able to do this with negotiating hostages with terrorists, that's a huge eye opener. And it's like, if he's able to do this with negotiating with terrorists, what's stopping us from doing this with negotiating with homeowners and being able to get even better deals. So that book was a huge opener. Chris Voss, he has a lot of experience with that. So yeah, I learned a lot through that book. It's one of my favorite negotiating books for sure, sales books.
So I'm going to ask you this: do you give that book to your sales guys?
Yeah. So I haven't given it to my guy I haven't given it to Manny yet, but I have given it to Leo. So Leo has seen it, and a huge eye opener for them too. And every time they come into either my place or the office that we have over there in Bell Gardens, I do put videos on where I have them speaking on even like videos of you with Steve Trey, I'm sure we've seen in the office, right? So
look at this guy with the beard. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I love to feed them with content of what people are doing right now, strategies that are working, sales strategies, and I like to give them all these tools because then they're able to open up their mindset and really grow as a salesperson.
Right. No, for sure. We give our guys, sales guys, a couple bucks right off the bat, and I've even come up with a better way. I feel like for them to digest it and go through it. So our first book, I always like to gift them is Asking Questions by the Sandler Way. Never Split the Difference is always a good one. Active Listening by Steve Trey. You just mentioned him. Big shout out to him. And I always like Rhinoceros Success. It's like a short, goofy book, but it's it's super motivating. Now, the funny thing is, it's something that I'm always trying to learn to be a better leader and really hype that and really, like I said, build that culture. Something I'm really going to focus on next year is culture. Is you don't see that they read it. And it's sometimes it's a struggle, you know what I mean? Because such as yourself, myself, we dive ourselves and dive ourselves into these books. Now, one thing I've found out a good way to really help them get through the books a lot easier is download the audio book, give them the manual, which is the book itself, the paper book, and then they will listen to the audio and follow along. Right.
Oh, okay.
I don't want them to listen to it in their car. I want them to actually follow along, highlight, underline some stuff, right? Really, because you could retain a lot more and you can get through those books a lot quicker. But I mean, there's just so much gold, like you said, and you could be a salesperson, but to really just be excellent, those books are going to make you like a top-notch sales guy.
Yeah, I know for sure. Books are huge, and just going to different courses. And I went to Max Jimenez and Wholesale Sharks. One of their
did you go to one of their events?
Yeah, one of their events, and you learn, you have the scripts, you kind of review that. So I mean, education is huge. I that's why I always go to all these masterminds, and we've run into each other at different events. But yeah, I think education is something that we can't just be as like people who are running these companies. We can't be the only ones digesting this information. We need to get all our sales guys seeing this because it's eye opening, and you learn a few strategies that can help you down the road.
Yeah, Max is the man. And he's actually going to be on this podcast next week or the week after, I think.
Okay.
Yes, and I met him when I first started this journey. I don't know, it was like I think it was like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when I quit my job to go do this full time. And then I went to their 2-day workshop, the Disruptors Workshop.
Nice. I did want to go to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. My next thing now I want to go to is Trang's leadership one with Ren Barton on it.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
they have one going on. I actually just had Ren on the podcast last week. Fantastic, incredible, individual. He's in our mastermind.
Nice.
But yeah, so they got something for like leaderships for not just to be a salesman, but actual leadership, right? As almost like a sales manager. And I feel like I feel like I have good skills in that department, but man, I want to be excellent. I want to be a lot better. And the way that Ren runs his team, it's incredible. And I'm going to be learning a lot more from them. I think I'll possibly be a client here soon.
Yeah, let me know about that. Definitely want to learn more about that, especially because, man, I mean, hopping into this, like, and hiring and firing so many people, you start to realize that leadership is a skill that, man, you definitely need to work on, because you need to be able to
100%.
bring the right energy. You need to be able to bring the right focus. You need to be able to paint the right picture. You need to be able to give the right tools. And it's just, man, it's sometimes, jumping into something like this, like the way I jumped into this, like I thought it was going to be way easier, but man, I feel like there's so much more you can add to your leadership skills always, and just stack those skills, so I need to join you on that one, Aaron.
No, 100%. And, because I feel like you always have to be like on top of your game as a leader, right? And it's not like that, right? We have our bad days, and you want to make sure you always put a good face and a good energy to your office. Now, especially next year, I'm requiring everybody to be in the office because it is quote unquote wartime. And I need communication to be there. I need there to be energy. I need the culture to be super lively. Now it was kind of hard to kind of make sure, hey, you guys need to be here and to have those conversations. But if you guys want to make the money that we're supposed to make next year, I need everybody here. I need more trainings. I need more role plays. I mean, and the funny thing is, I'm just kind of on my soapbox right now. The funny thing is, a lot of people keep their guys to like 9 to 5. And for me, I feel like I could get the most out of them as long as we get the ground running from 9 to 2. That's kind of, because after like 2, you're kind of draining out. And I especially want to require them to keep working, after hours too. So, hey, work till 2. Still be on the phone, do your thing. If you got to go, bounce. But I'm not, but let's just crush it. Let's just go hard from 9 to 2. And so anyways.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I didn't think about that. I mean, and that's obviously a huge debate within like real estate investors, like, hey, get people virtually who are more affordable, or get people in the office. But I mean, it seems like the office model, and when I've talked to you a couple of times, you've liked that a lot more just because of like the company culture you set. I'm sure results are like way higher, conversion rates and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely talk to you more about that next year. I do have people in the office right now, but I definitely see communication going a lot faster because we keep all of our communication, a lot of it on Slack, but we do have virtual employees. We have an administrative assistant. We have a lead manager, soon to be 2 lead managers that are just doing kicking those leads off to the closer. We have, what is it? We have what would you call it? An investor sales rep. That's sort of a lead manager for our disposition manager. Her name's Jim. Okay. And we have another person that does pre-foreclosures, digging, scraping, all that stuff. And then, so that's our virtual, but in-house we have an acquisitions, our TC, our dispo, my wife, myself. And then we're going to be hiring 2 more sales guys coming this January.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so just keeping it lean and mean, but the changes that we've done by keeping it lean and mean, cutting the fat, and by focusing on more inbound leads and on market deals, our contracts have gone up and our revenue's gone up. Now like I said, we felt it for those 2 months in that market correction, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I pushed everybody toward the dispo side, being like, find a buyer, cold call these cash buyers. We need to sell these properties, right?
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this, Gabriel. Basically, last question: what is a myth in real estate that you would like to debunk today?
Oh man, a myth in real estate that I would like to debunk. I would say, well, something that's pretty evident, is that you don't really need money to get into real estate, right? So that's huge. Especially now finding on market deals, right? No marketing costs. You're the first one to find a deal. You negotiate up with the agent, you lock it up. A lot of people think, you need money to get into real estate, but you really don't even need money, not even for like marketing, like cold calling, like you did in the past or anything like that. Cause there's so many deals on the market right now where I feel like there's like, it's very easy to get into the game with no money, with these on market deals right now. So yeah, that's what I would like to debunk. Like you do not need money to get into real estate to start making
that equity.
Yeah. Just putting in the work. And, before, you either like cold call and stuff, or you cold call, obviously you don't need money that way either. You just call every single one of these leads and stuff. But on the market, there's so many deals out there that, people have that huge misconception. Oh, I'll get into real estate once I have 100K saved up or 50K saved up. It's like, you really don't need money. You just got to start putting in those calls, putting in the work. And like you said, sweat equity.
Hey, Gabriel, I want to thank you so much for, you hopping on here, taking the time out of your day. I know I caught you even right in the middle of working, but you decided to be on this and share some value. Where can people DM you, find you, bug you, ask you questions, Gabriel?
Yeah, hit me up, Gabriel Carrera _. I'm on Instagram. I don't post as much as I should, but maybe I will start posting a little more soon. But I usually post my stories so you can see how my days go about, and get a little bit into the journey with me.
Thanks, Gabriel. Hey, again, see you next time here on the Real Estate Block Podcast.
Thank you, Aaron.